Hello listeners, we've partnered with ClassicFootballShirts.com where you can get your classic, rare, retro, vintage football shirts for your football team of your choice. I recommend a Parma kit. You know, there's some lovely options on the website. There's a referral link on our Twitter or in the description of the YouTube video. Click there, follow it through and enjoy. I say Parma, get it on you, it looks lovely. They're from the 90s. Ooh. Listeners, welcome back. It is For The Fans show. Now, first of all, apologies, corrections, and thank yous to go through. First of all, sorry there was no show last week. Callum was,
No, I was here. Let's be clear. I was here.
Jack was also had a couple of nights drinking alcohol, which you enjoyed.
Yeah, I might,
fair?
yeah.
All right, fair. Whereas Jack's been ill. Bloody
I have
Jack.
been. I feel a little bit better. I had a weekend in the Peak District this weekend.
Was that to recover? Is that what the doctor ordered?
It was. The fresh air, the sheep... They all helped in their own little way.
What an image.
Oh, I don't want to know about that.
That's come out from, but let's just keep going.
Secondly, two things to address. First of all, well done to Hull City for amassing 10 points. You have beaten my 8 points.
I didn't know this till you told me.
Margin. Yeah, a bit annoying. Sunderland and Swansea, they're still fighting the flag. I mean, one of them might get it. Also, big shout out to... dearie me. Big shout out to AVB for getting
He's got a new job, Ben.
Yeah, he's left Leon. Short-lived. And he's now gone to Shanghai. Thank you to the...
Let's be clear.
I think it was about 40. I think there were 45 people that told me that he wasn't Leon manager.
Yeah, he was never Leon manager.
Never managed Leon. So
well, according to Wikipedia, he did. So I mean,
Wikipedia lied, and yeah, apologies for that, everyone.
Of course, ForTheFans does not use Wikipedia. We have other sources which were also wrong.
Yeah. Right, moving on from that, though. Thank yous are in order. Thank you so much to everyone that voted for us in the FBA Blogging Awards, the Football Blogging Awards. I don't know, now we have to wait and see if we're going to win. If we do win, I mean, Jack, you've promised to do a series in a costume.
I have. I've got a few in mind.
And we're going to do a full show of features. That's basically quiz night. We'll do a quiz night podcast. Kino, have you agreed? Did you agree to anything?
I didn't agree. Well, if you want to come up with something for me,
you've got to do a new jingle for the theme song. Yeah, sure. So yeah, again, thank you so much for voting. There were loads of votes came in over the last couple of days, especially. So we do appreciate it. If we don't win, then I mean, always next year. You know, we go again, as Stephen Gerrard once said.
As the new Wolves manager Paul Lambert liked to say. Did
he say that at Villa? Did he?
He said it all the time at Villa.
Oh dear, yeah. Poor Paul.
That's his name now from Villa.
Did he say it like the game before he was sacked? Because in which case he lied.
Yeah, the post-match interview would go again. No, you don't, Paul.
He didn't know he was being replaced by Tim Sherwood at that point.
Oh, what an indignity. Okay, then let's move on. We're going to do regular order, a little bit of feature. Then
Ben, have you researched your feature properly this week?
Has it been validated by an adjudicator?
I mean, I am the adjudicator, so I can't guarantee that the points will be dished out fairly and properly. But we are going to kick things off with the feature this week. Now, gentlemen, there's many teams around the world with some fantastic names, but can you identify the real from the false? The true from the false? So I'm going to give you the team name and the country in which they're from. You're going to tell me if it's a real team or a false team.
I feel like I should be quite good at this.
I was about to say, I feel Jack, with his background, will have an inherent advantage.
I'll say now, some of these teams play in the very lower regions of their nations, etc.
Excellent. I am an expert on the third tier of the Somali football.
I'll just come out and say that I don't think you'll have heard of any of them.
Okay,
so
that's good.
Maybe what you should do is we could have two phases to question. We have to guess the country they're from. I don't know if the names would give it away for some places.
No, they definitely wouldn't. I can give you that for sure. Okay, who would like to go first, Jack or Kino?
I'm raising my hand aloft as the leader in the features across this season so far.
Indeed. Hopefully someone's keeping a running total. Right then, Jack, we'll come to you first. The first team is from Iceland, and they are called Majority Rules. True or false?
I love that.
False.
False. It was made up by me. Point to Jack. I can't believe you got that. I thought Majority Rules.
Where did you get Majority Rules from?
Oh, I ask a random Kino. When you hear some of the others, you'll see why we went with Majority Rules. Okay, Kino, over to you. Is Albino Gandino from Italy a real team?
I actually know the answer to this one.
Well, I'm going to say that's yes then.
Can I say, Jack, if you know the answer, mate, that suggests it's probably correct, doesn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, it does.
That's a point to Keno. The assist there goes to Jack.
Didn't think about that. Could I have the assist to be a little
That would give it
asterisk
away.
next
All right, Jack, back to you. Botswana Meat Commission.
That's actually true.
It is true. They're a real team, the Botswana Meat Commission.
Jack, don't say it's actually true like you know that the
The
team...
thing is, though, I have actually heard of that team name, and I don't know where from.
All right.
It's got to be FM.
It's South African. I didn't even give you the country, Jack, because I was confident. Jack, Keno, from Argentina, Deportivo Moron.
False. I don't think they call themselves.
It's true.
Oh.
Would you look? I want to be a moron one day. All
It sounds like a really terrible Sunday league team name, doesn't it? Yeah, they've not been very original, and they've got Deportivo.
It's or like a Paddy Power advert.
A bit like a fantasy, like a five-a-side team. You call your team like Deportivo Morons.
Yeah.
Jack, from Thailand, Rocky 4. Spell as the team, as the film. It's not true. I made that one up. Rocky 4. That was just, random. Keno, from Australia, superstar footballers, mate. Not mate.
I was going to say, no.
Superstar footballers.
That should really be like a thing that teams have on the end of their name in Australia. Like United or City, mates is just on the end.
Yeah.
We'll say true. I think the listeners and me have no idea about this. Maybe Jack knows a few. I'm just going to say true.
It's false. I made up superstar footballers.
There is a team called Super Sport who played in South Africa, though. That was the closest I come up with.
That might come up later, Jack. Jack, from Peru, Deportivo Wanka.
I mean, Peru is a weaker nation of mine. It's a gap in my knowledge. I'm going to go with false. I don't think they could be called Wanker.
It is pronounced Deportivo Wanka.
Well,
and it's correct. It's true.
I feel like that the mispronunciation has thrown me there.
Jack, when you read it, Jack, you wouldn't have read it as Wanka because it's actually not ER. It's actually A. It's WANKA.
The clue is, Jack, if it's got Deportivo in front of it, it's probably correct.
Keno, Golden Bush from Bolivia.
Oh, yeah.
Or Botswana, actually. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Golden Bush is correct. Real team. Golden Bush. I mean, yeah.
How did they call it that team name? Was that
Jack,
one of their first posts?
I don't know.
What's the score at the moment? What's the score?
Yeah, 3 to Jack, 2 to you at the halfway stage. Okay. We'll be on the halfway stage. Jack, back to you then. From Canada, Manparts City.
Not true, no.
I mean, the confidence in which you say it is unerring, Jack. You're correct. It's not true. I made that one up as well.
Manparts City.
Manparts City.
I mean, it's an interesting name.
I mean, earlier on we had Botswana Meat Commission. I mean,
I'm Golden Bush. We're insane.
Golden Bush, yeah. Keno, back to you. Always ready from Bolivia.
I feel like that's a sports. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. What should we call ourselves? Because we're always ready to play, but we haven't got a team name. There it is. There it was. We'll call ourselves.
That reminds me
of
when we got rid of prepared from our badge.
Yeah, that's great. That's what that might be my favourite story of 2016. That Aston Villa spent. How much money was it? It was about 2 million or something like that.
No, it was six figures. But
yeah, you spent. I mean, for those that don't know this, Keno's club Aston Villa spent 6 figures changing their badge, and all they did was remove the word prepared from the badge.
They did redraw the lion as well.
Okay, yeah, but even so, not a massive change for the amount of money.
We should have put always ready on there.
You should have put, instead of prepared, always ready.
Or
that would have cost more money because it's,
Jack, is there a team in Nepal called Armed Police?
I have a feeling this is true.
I know.
There's quite a lot of Asian teams. I feel like said that to throw me off because we've already learned if you say I know this, but there are, for example, in Asia, like the South Korean police force have a team, so do the Malaysian police force.
Quite a lot of police teams.
Well, I think Ben's machine, of course. Yeah, police machine, yes, of course.
I'm going to say true, but it might be a very intelligent trick on this one.
It is true. I mean, it's unbelievable. I will say, Jack, that is true, and it has taken us to a 4-3 with 1 to go, Keno.
Oh, okay, right.
Is Donald Trump Athletic a real team?
Absolutely not.
Yes, it is.
It's not a real team.
No.
What is it to be?
Unbelievable. Jack was sure, and because Jack was so sure, he loses a point.
Yes.
I mean, this has all been rigged because I was a point ahead, and now he wants the tiebreaker to go in.
No, the reality is, I didn't think we'd come to... Okay, no, it's fine. we'll do this geographically. I've got a tiebreaker. I've decided.
But haven't I won, or because you've removed
No, it's 4-4. It's 4-4, mate.
I've just tied it up, Jack.
I had 5.
No,
you
you
had
had
4.
4.
Manpart, Botswana Meat Commission, Armed Police. Then there were actually 2 more that I got right.
I mean, you're not giving me full hope there. Majority rules. Did you get that one right?
That was yes, I did.
No, you got that. Oh.
I did, honestly. I got 5.
Yeah, you did. So you got majority rules right. You got Botswana Meat Commission
Honestly,
correct.
Jack,
Got
I'm
Manpart.
happy to give you this.
Did you get Rocky? Did you get Rocky 4 correct?
Yeah, that was false.
Oh, I marked that as wrong. So once again, Jack wins the feature. Sorry, Keenan.
Can we do the tiebreaker anyway?
I've led you on there. I mean, you can gamble your point, maybe.
Can we do double or quits? No one gets a point if I lose, but if I win, I get 2 points.
Okay, here we go. We're going to base this on geography. Okay.
Okay.
The team is called Joe Public FC. Okay? Joe Public FC, a real team. Where do they play their football? Closest country wins. Joe Public FC. Callum?
You can go first, Jack.
All right, Jack, you've gone first.
I won it in regular time.
Jack,
all right, Keno goes first. Keno, you won in regular time. Bloody Laura.
But he called for the tiebreaker, Ben. He
did, but Keno is right. He was leading. So, can we have a country, Keno, where we need this based on how close you are to the country?
Joe Public FC.
Yeah.
Athletic or FC?
FC. Real team.
Right. It could be a trick question. It could be like, Bolton or something.
Well, he's asked for a country, so that would be awkward.
Yeah. Bolton, not a country at this stage. At time of recording, Bolton, not a country.
They've not fought for their independence yet.
I'm gonna say India for the sort of Southeast Asian zone. I'm hoping.
Right. Jack?
I feel like tactically I should just say somewhere just to the east or west of India.
Oh, come on.
I might have to actually figure this out now if you go that close.
I'm gonna say Nepal.
Well, that is a border of India.
Okay,
get Google Earth out.
I am doing. I literally have to.
Where is it? Tell us that while you're still away.
The winner is Keno.
It's in Australia, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, that still would be Nepal. By the way, Jack, was a terrible guess because you're closest to literally about 5 countries comparatively to Keno.
Yeah.
Yeah, the correct answer is Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, I love it.
And
I'll take the feature for
what
that.
about to go the other way round?
Yeah, great. Good point.
No way. There's no way that's
good point.
Closer.
It's pretty close,
I'm getting out the world map to check myself.
Boys, by the end of the show, I will reveal the winner of the feature.
Ben will have travelled around the world and will be able to confirm.
So stay tuned. We'll find out which is closer. When we see you next time.
I love how we've literally gone on the opposite side of the globe.
Yeah, I've got no idea. I didn't expect this to happen. Okay, boys, let's talk about some Premier League football, shall we? That's the end of the feature. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Nobody wins at this stage. Right, we'll kick things off then with an emphatic 5-0 win. It was almost table-topping for a short time, Chelsea, against Everton. And Chelsea put Everton to the sword, Keno. One of the best performances of the season.
I wrote on the running order.
You did write on the running order. From Antonio Conte's men, and made Everton really look quite average.
So I'd like to remind the listeners and you too that prior to the beginning of the season, you both scoffed at me as I recommended Chelsea for the title. And I'm sticking by that. And it was only with this result this weekend that I think people started to believe that they were sort of contenders.
Can I just say, for the record, I said Chelsea would finish second this year.
All right, but that's fine. But
what's that got to do with anything, Jack?
I never scoffed.
All right. Keno, do you want to carry on? I mean, thanks for that, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. He's been ill. He's out of practice. And considering that Everton at the time of the game being played were 6th, I think that although they were poor, it sort of put into perspective just how good that performance was. And from Eden Hazard in particular, I think one of the best individual performances I can remember in the Premier League. He was everywhere. And I think Conte took him off with about 9-10 minutes to go. And he looked pissed off to be coming off then because he'd been running rampant for the entire match. Got 2 very well-deserved goals.
Well, he's the Eden Hazard that we saw so much of 2 years ago and saw so little of last year.
But you see, I think he's actually better. He could be better than even the Eden Hazard that we saw 2 years ago. And the reason I say that is because I think the system that they're playing now at Chelsea gives him so much more freedom to actually express himself and to pop up everywhere around the pitch. I think even though he was very good in the second season of Mourinho when he won the title, Mourinho still sort of demanded quite a lot of him defensively and sort of positionally, and he was still very tied to that rigid 4-2-3-1 system. With this, him, Costa and Pedro, who is also just as good as Hazard, by the way, have a lot of freedom, a lot of security to really just stay in the final third and express themselves. So I think he could genuinely go on to do even better this year than we saw from him 2 years ago. But I agree, back to his best for sure.
Yeah, I think he needs performances. He needs lots of performances like this to sort of get a little bit of pride back. Because I think last year he was one of the biggest flops of last season. He was sort of the player of the year, wasn't he? Being lauded as, if he carries on like this, he'll get one sort of, I don't want to call it the dream move, but I think for a lot of players, the Real Madrid-Barcelona move is what they look to. And that chat completely disappeared. And it might be a case that he thinks, if I want to get to the very, very top, I'm going to have to put the performances back in. Of course, Chelsea fans, though, will be delighted with what he did. And he wasn't the only one to have a good game, Jack. There were 5 goals scored by Chelsea. I guess that talks a lot about Everton's defensive troubles. They didn't play what we're used to seeing them play, which was odd.
It's kind of weird for Everton, because last year they had such a disappointing season, even by their own standards in a lot of ways. They were, resigned to kind of bottom half of the table, really, for the majority of it. And this year they've got off to such a fine start. And yes, you're going away against Chelsea. Yes, it's a tricky game. Yes, they're in fantastic form. But at the same time, given how well Everton have played for the most part, granted against, perhaps some of the easier teams,
they were disappointing.
Just how poor they were defensively, it's almost inexcusable, because Koeman, that was one of the big strengths actually when he was at Southampton, was how good they were defensively. He had a very well-drilled machine. And it was just such a massive distance between the two games. And yes, you expect Chelsea to perhaps be a little bit ahead of Everton, but it was the comfortableness they kind of did it with, and just how, I don't know, I felt like the wheels had really come off the Everton machine in this game. And
Everton had one of the best defensive performances throughout the Premier League this year. I think they were sort of like third or fourth, maybe.
Yeah,
sort of best defensive records, and he changed it. This
is what I was about to say. Jack's right there that it was such an uncharacteristic performance, and it was really odd to see. This is all Koeman's doing, I think, in my opinion, tactically, because he went with that 3 at the back, and I think that almost sort of. I think other teams are going to do that against Chelsea, because now everyone's realised that this system is so sort of difficult to play against. You will see managers trying to adapt like that, and Koeman tried it. It could have come off, but to be able to change to a 3 at the back like that, sort of on the fly, particularly if you've not played that for the rest of the season, and you have Williams and was Jagielka playing? Who was it?
Funes Mori played.
Yeah, and so obviously there's been a lot of solidity for Everton so far this year with the 4 at the back, and that's obviously one of the reasons why they've been so solid. And good defensively. And it was an odd choice from Koeman. I mean, like I say, it's one of those things where if they do shut Chelsea down for the first half, everyone's like, oh, you're a genius. But it was so going wrong so clearly, even after, about 20 minutes. And Williams in particular looked like a fish out of water in that 3. I think he was on the right-hand side of the 3. He looked so, like I say, out of his depth that it was clear that it had just backfired. And he brought someone on before half time, I think.
He brought Morales on for Oviedo.
Yeah, he made the change really early, and that's always a sign that the manager knows that he's made the big error.
Do you think this was an attempt then by Everton to try and kind of, I don't know, nullify the kind of Chelsea shape that's been much lauded over the last few weeks? This kind of 3 at the back system, 3-4-3.
Yeah, we should talk a little bit about the rationale, because I think the idea behind doing that makes sense, but you need a team that is as good as Chelsea at playing that 3 at the back, because I can see why you would play. Basically, he played a very similar thing, a 3-4-3, Lukaku on his own down the middle. That's how he started. And that makes sense when you're defending, because you want to also almost be playing Chelsea man for man, especially when you're away from home. You want to kind of, you're going for the draw or the 1-goal win. You want to keep it solid. To go man to man against each one of their players makes sense. But I think the problem was that they just weren't used to playing it enough, and that showed.
Yeah. Yeah, it became evident. Everton registered one shot, and it wasn't on target. So, I mean, it's not great, is it? Lukaku had no touches in the Chelsea area. I mean, that's got to be, for a player like him as well, who kind of thrives on chances and the opportunities he gets, to not have anything, especially at a club that sold you. Yeah, like a club that sold you.
It's got to be so frustrating.
Yeah, it must be very frustrating. And like, you think defensively that, you know what, Coma's changed it and they've conceded 5, but not only have they defended badly, they're creating nothing. So, as difficult as it might be to play against the Conte system, we've seen teams play Chelsea this year and they used to have chances. I mean, Everton, we're talking about Everton as if they're no disrespect to Sunderland, but like they're a Sunderland in this division. And they've shown already this year that they're not that. And still failed to do anything.
I think that puts into perspective, though, just how good the performance from Chelsea was. I saw an excellent article today. I forget where it was, to obviously mentioning the players in that Chelsea team that just seem to have been transformed. I think the most obvious is Victor Moses in that right wing back role. Who, I mean, you guys had him at Liverpool for a bit, didn't you? He looks a different player. Like that role was made for him, and I think that. Considering that Chelsea didn't spend a huge amount of money in the summer, I think that really just points all the credit really towards Conte for the job that he's done at coaching the players and really sort of getting them to buy into his system. Moses, as a case study, is a really good sort of example of just how well he's done so far.
It's going to be interesting because I think so that Chelsea have been just massively criminal of is just letting go of players who they don't ever really give a chance, or they don't give enough of a chance to, while they just play the player out of position. And yes, it's been under different managers, but it's been interesting to see Conte kind of, keep true to players like Moses, who I imagine a lot of Chelsea fans probably didn't think had a spot in the first team this year.
But he needed this. He's 25 now. And I think the problem with Victor Moses is he's not had a nailed down position. You mentioned he had a spell at Liverpool. It was like as a bit part winger. Every now and then he'd come on. He's now got a role which obviously suits him, suits the team, and like he's literally playing that. I don't know if Azpilicueta was he playing on the left side? Yeah.
Left centre-back, yeah.
Azpilicueta's playing as one of the centre-backs, isn't he?
He's playing as a right. He's playing oddly, actually, as the right centre-back a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But he is right-footed.
But you would assume that, and Cahill likes to play on the left, of course, you would assume that Azpilicueta would be perfect for that right wing-back role, but actually, I don't know if it's a lack of defensive options. I mean, Conte brought Terry on. He's got Ivanovic on the bench. Victor Moses is quite literally the first choice in that spot, based on sort of the evidence, which I think's interesting. I mean, I like seeing players be given a role and perform well. I guess it's the similar cases that James Miller's doing the same sort of thing at left back for Liverpool at the moment. It's not like his favourite place to be. It's not where he's flourished in the past, but it gives him an identity of how he needs to play. And I think, as I say, for a 25-year-old, Victor Moses needs this. Otherwise, he'll be sort of 30 before you know it, and not really have nailed down a spot in any team. So I guess on a personal level, I'm pleased with Victor Moses.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely.
So that sends Chelsea second in the league table. They are a point behind leaders Liverpool. Now, it's hard to not be biased when your team's won 6-1, Jack.
Quite good, isn't it?
How are we going to manage that? They've scored 30 goals this season. If they keep this up, there'll be 103 by the end of the season. It's all looking rather good over at Anfield at the moment.
I'm kind of getting the flashbacks back to the second place season. I hate to call it that, but that's...
That game, Jack, was the first one I've seen at Anfield under Klopp, which gave me flashbacks of that. Exactly.
And I think it's also the manner of which Liverpool are kind of going about their performances at the moment. It's been how ruthless they've been, how much they want to play on the front foot. I think it was Klopp who came out after... Who did Liverpool play last week? Help me out here. But he basically came out and someone asked, are you disappointed not to get another clean sheet? And this kind of attitude was, well, if we outscore people, then it doesn't really matter if we keep it
was Palace.
And I love that attitude. I love that kind of gung-ho kind of... And it can be very kind of suicidal in a way at times, and you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But when you can go against Watford like Liverpool have here and break them down 6 times, and to be honest, from what I saw, they could have broken them down another 3 or 4 times. It could have been a double figures game if players were taking all the chances that fell their way.
And again, like the Everton result, Watford have been very good at the back this year. They've been very solid. So it does put into perspective just how good both of those performances were. I asked you, Ben. We were talking about, obviously, because the Chelsea game was the day before the Liverpool game. Liverpool was Sunday, wasn't it? Oh no, Liverpool was.
It was.
Liverpool was early on the Sunday after Chelsea,
and we were. I think we were sort of discussing, about the two kind of title contender teams in Liverpool and Chelsea, and I think the only question for me over Liverpool would be just how solid and how dependable a partnership sort of Matip and Lovren, obviously Lovren wasn't available this week.
No, we played Lucas third. Lucas filled in.
So I think that would be the only question mark for me, would be in the centre of defence and sort of just general solidity, because I agree, Jack, that I think your attack Liverpool's attack is devastating, and I love how you sort of see what Klopp mentioned when he was on Monday Night Football about a month ago, when he said about the front six players. It doesn't matter where they sort of their quote unquote position is. I just want them to sort of attack as a unit, and they can go anywhere.
Yeah. You know what I remind me of? It's like a set of buzzy little bees. Like they've all got their own little job that they're doing for Queen Bee Klopp on the sideline.
Yeah, and there's no
just on that though, it's important that they all know what each other's job is. I think that it's all well and good having sort of your set job, your set mindset, but they work as a team in these movements. Like when they move forward, they all know who's going to be where and what that player can do.
Like bees.
And I think that's important. But that's happened very quickly. You think about the six that play there. You put Mane and Wijnaldum into that, when he plays, of course. You've already got Coutinho and Firmino there. You've got Lallana as well. They already all know. They all understand what each other are capable of, and it allows Liverpool to attack in a much more sort of assertive way. Sorry, Kino, do you want to get around?
No, and I feel like because obviously you play without the recognised striker, I feel that for me yesterday, it was Lallana's game in terms of how well he was playing, and he assisted, I think 2 or 3. He could have assisted 3. I think he definitely got 2 assists, and he was sort of buzzing everywhere. And it seems like out of those kind of front 4, every game, one of those players, like at Palace, it was Coutinho, one of those players will sort of take the lead and make things happen. And there's just so much sort of confidence in your attack right now that it means that you're pretty much guaranteed chances, whoever you're playing and however well the individuals are sort of in form. There's not too much to say. I did ask you as well, this is a conversation Ben and I were having last night, would you take the sort of attack you have now, or because obviously we
yeah, it was a good question.
You mentioned the nearly season of 13-14. I said, would you take Sturridge, Sterling, and Suarez like the SAS, or this current front line?
What do you think I said, Jack?
What's this for?
So, would you rather have the SAS of 13-14 or the current 4 we have now, sort of the Lallana, Coutinho, Firmino, Mane?
I actually feel like with the 4 we've got now, they're more interchangeable in terms of it's not like they have to come as a set, and if one of them gets injured, it's going to be game over because there are other players who can come in there and do a job.
I basically twisted it to say that I would have Sturridge, Sterling, and Suarez as they are now, not necessarily as they were 3 years ago.
I probably would have the SAS as they were 3 years ago, but I'd say that with that, I feel like...
Can we have these 4 as well? Can we have 7 attackers?
Boys.
Is what we're saying. Can we have 7 attackers and then just sort of Matip, Henderson, maybe Lovren, or Klein, Milner. Just sort of defending. Milner, anyone. Just defending, and then have those 7.
I feel like for Liverpool, the thing with the team now is it's not a one-man show like it... I don't want to say it was... back a few years ago now.
Suarez definitely brought the best out of the rest of the team.
Exactly. And I guess you can make a case for Coutinho being that man in this side, the player that if he was to get injured, would it all collapse around? But I think the way that players like Lallana have played this year, players like Mane, and they all offer something very different, actually, each of the players as they kind of move around one another. They're all very different players.
It's funny you say that, because I think Firmino is the most important, actually.
Well,
I agree.
I feel like for me, he is the most replaceable. In terms of, I think we've got a few other players who are
but by who, job. Though?
I think
I'm interested in what you think.
I think Sturridge can do a job. I think Coutinho can do a job as a lone striker.
Very different job, though, Firmino. Like, Firmino and Sturridge do very different things.
Oh, of course. But I feel like, for me, Coutinho is kind of... I mean, for example, the goal where he sucked in all the players and just slotted it past the keeper who was injured. Yeah. It was a bit questionable. I feel like, for me, not many other players in our team have that spark about them. And whilst I am denying Firmino would be a very difficult player to replace, particularly given just how well he's played, especially in this game. Actually, I thought this was one of his best games as kind of the lone striker. I feel like at the same time we've got players who could grow and play that kind of similar position, whereas I think it's just the quality that Coutinho can kind of provide and just bring out of nothing. It just brings players into a game in a way that I don't know. I feel like he's the obvious star player to go to, but I do feel like he's very critical to Liverpool's success going forward at times.
Yeah, Liverpool not without faults, though. I mean, clean sheets, Burton, Derby, Manchester United, and that's it. 2 championship teams in there.
It's funny that the United one is your
one. Yeah, and of course the 0-0 against United, where they came and sat still. I mean, is that going to be inevitably the thing that might well cost Liverpool the title? I mean, even
That's
Leicester last year started the season without clean sheets, but finished with 15, and like Liverpool don't look capable of keeping 15 clean sheets. We kept 1 out of 11 matches. As fun as it is to see a score over and over again and have like the best goals scored, we also have sort of an against, which puts us in sort of a mid-table realm.
I'd say to counteract that, you look at Tottenham with the best defensive record in the league. They've scored half the amount of goals, and yes, they are unbeaten. They've also drawn 6 of their opening 11 games, which I'm sure if you told Tottenham fans you're going to be unbeaten, they'd be delighted with. If you said you have the best defensive record, ultimately, I think it's actually been their lack of firepower going forward, which may hold them back from a real title challenge this year.
I think across the season, though, you need a title-winning team. I was going to say leave Leicester out of this, but as you said, Ben, they started off the season last year banging in loads of goals, winning 4-2, 3-2, 4-3, coming from behind, and then in the second half of the year, they seem to get into that, as you say, they kept 15 clean sheets. They got into that defensive mindset. And I think across the year, the entire season, not the year, but this whole season, you need certain periods where you rely more on your attack, like Liverpool are doing now. But there are also times when you do need, when your strikers aren't in form or you've got injuries, you do need that solid defence as well to eke out the odd 1-0.
I feel like you need a good defence if you can't sustain the firepower going forward.
Well, that is the question, and whether Liverpool can sustain that across the whole year.
The balance is pretty important. I'll sort of make 2 points and we'll move on. But I think first things first is that this is very similar. That to me is a very similar feel to the 13-14 season. Is that while we look fantastic going forward, defensively we're a little bit shaky. That said, because teams think they can have a go at Liverpool, that is why we score so many goals. Because all of a sudden teams think, do you know what, there's a chance for us here. And as soon as they think that's when we score 2 more. And that is genuinely how things... But like Palace had it. Palace had it last week. They levelled it up and they thought, do you know what, we're getting closer. We can do this. And then as soon as they sort of had that mindset, Liverpool found a lot more space and punished it. And we're very good at punishing space. In terms of a title this season and Liverpool, that's the talk at the moment. I mean, they're top of the table after 11 games.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ready. I think Chelsea look more set to do that, but my God, I'm having fun watching my team, and that's all I want, really. Like people say, do you want to win the title? Of course, but I also want to have fun watching my team. Currently, that is what's going on. On the flip side, right off weekend for Watford.
I was going to say
not much to say.
Watford, they're in 8th. They've kind of gone under the radar a little bit, I feel like, in terms of where they are right now, because there was questions about whether or not they might be relegation candidates, even from their own fans. I feel like in the preview show, we kind of said as a group we thought mid-table should be attainable for them. And we had some
I think that's where it will end up being. I think that's where it will end up.
Of course, but I think given how some of the fans were feeling about it with the new manager coming in, with a few players potentially on the go, they actually managed to keep hold of the likes of Deeney, players like Igalo as well, who just haven't really had any form towards the end of last year. They've started this season well, Watford, 15 points from 11 games. They're in 8th. They're only a little bit behind Everton now, really, and only 3 points behind United. They've done okay, and I don't think this game is going to define their season in any way.
No, but they can't have any more of these, essentially. 6-1's not very good. Our friend Miles Jack was at the game. Lovely picture of him on Sky, sat in the stands.
Oh, what's the now?
Yeah, he looked livid. It was. I don't want to say I enjoyed it, Miles, but I somewhat enjoyed it. Okay, let's move on. Arsenal Football Club versus Tottenham Hotspur. The North London derby was this weekend, and a game which I think a lot of people thought would be hotly contested. I dare say it was. Who had the better of the game, though, Keno? I guess that's the question, isn't it? Who will be happier with the result? I guess we'll start with that.
The North London derby is the highest scoring fixture in Premier League history.
So neutrals aren't happy is the answer.
Well, yeah.
It's quite a good game, though.
Exactly. I was about to get onto that. Although there was only 2 goals, it was... it reminded me a little bit of the Villa game last week, the second City derby, because it was very hotly contested.
Frenetic.
It was quite cagey for the first half, really. And... as I say, lots of big challenges. There was the atmosphere was excellent at the Emirates, which it isn't always.
Shots fired.
Yeah, but even though it was a draw in the end, it was a very entertaining game. There are a few interesting points that I thought from that was that we saw Everton try the 3 at the back. against Chelsea, and Spurs also tried to do that against Arsenal. It's quite interesting that teams at the moment are trying to almost do that to kind of spring a surprise upon the other team. And I think Pochettino knew that they were going into the game with obviously Arsenal I think they're on the best run that they've had for 7 years, and Tottenham are not in that form, although they're still unbeaten in the league. I think Pochettino thought, let's try and do something that will throw Arsenal off a little bit. And I think the back three, Wimmer was in for the first time this year. Vertonghen was almost in the David Luiz kind of role, sort of, the ball playing central centre half. And for the first half, although they looked a bit uncomfortable, it kind of worked because I think that Arsenal didn't really get going. And I think they were almost sort of taken aback by the way it was playing out, because Walker and Rose are almost, natural wing backs. And they did a lot of work. And I thought the both sets of fullbacks were pretty impressive and got through a lot of work. And it was pretty cagey for the first half. And then Harry Kane.
Well, the goal came in the first half. We'll talk about the goal.
Yeah.
It was contentious. There was a lot of question marks over the goal. Obviously, Kevin Wimmer heads it in. There was the big BT were loving the debate, by the way. They had Redknapp. Who was on it? It was Redknapp, Ferdinand, and
Ian Wright.
Ian Wright.
Can I just say, I didn't see this panel. I'm going to show you that Wrighty was for the attacker, saying that it shouldn't have been given offside, and that Harry Redknapp and Rio were saying the other way, actually, that the defender...
It's funny.
Actually, that's not what happened.
Is it the reverse role?
Host Jake Humphrey, manager Harry Redknapp, former player... and obviously Arsenal player Ian Wright, former international centre-back. This is how they were billing it, by the way, constantly on BT. So I'm doing it in this manner. Former international centre-back Rio Ferdinand and former World Cup final referee Howard Webb were all in agreement that the rule is stupid and needs to be changed because it's not clear. The reason, essentially what we're talking about here, viewers, is the reason Wimmer heads the ball is because he thinks if he doesn't head the ball, the players behind him are going to score, which was probably true. Little did he know those two players would have been offside. So, does the rule need to be clarified? Is the question I guess I'm really asking.
It is tough in that situation. There is, as Ferdinand said on the broadcast, there's no way that Wimmer is going to check behind him as the ball is coming in and, a couple of seconds before he actually goes for the header to see.
He's got to deal with it. He's thinking, I've got to try and deal with this.
So then the onus is obviously on the linesman then to pick that up. I don't really think there's anything that any rule change could have done about that, if I'm honest. I think, as kind of Howard Webb said, he was like, there's the linesman deemed it not offside, or it was fine to stand, even though who was it? Walcott, I think Walcott was behind Wimmer. There were two Arsenal players that had
I think it might be Mustafi and someone else.
Yeah, two Arsenal players had made the move behind Wimmer's shoulder, and I think it's just a sort of a problem, just an unavoidable issue, really. I don't know about you, I'm not sure a rule change would actually fix that. It's just the linesman didn't call it.
It's essentially it comes down to what is interfering with play and what isn't interfering with play. Are they interfering because he feels like he has to make contact? Arguably, they don't touch the ball though. And as Harold Webb kind of points out, you can't have a black and white rule of if he's offside, he's offside. Because the amount of players that come back from offside positions in a wide area when the ball's put in on the other side and headed in, do you then give that offside? Because one of the players was out of line. Ironically, Redknapp was making that point. He was going, look, you just need to have black and white. If they're offside, they're offside. And Howard was like, no, Harry, that doesn't really work.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like your granddad sort of talking to you about football. It's like
he was like the people in the stands don't even know. None of
the man on the street who plays it as he goes back to his sort of.
They don't need to know. They don't need to know it. The ins and outs of the offside rule. You don't need to make it that simple.
The people that really need to know it are the officials.
And the players.
They're the key. Yeah, the players. They're the key people that need to know it. Although I guess the sort of the wider football public wouldn't mind knowing it.
It's an interesting point about the interfering with play, though, because we don't even know if Wimmer knew that the guys were behind him. It's an almost impossible question to answer, and so I think really you just have to trust in the linesman spotting it and making that call.
Obviously, then not long after half time, Harry Kane gets himself a goal, Jack.
A penalty
at last. Do you think it was a penalty?
Yeah.
Right. Solid contact.
Yeah,
fair,
am I allowed to just flat out say
that's fine. Yeah. I mean, there's no need to expand. Obviously, the Koscielny tangles with Musa Dembele, and Kane puts away the spot, kicking at 1-1. to me, actually, as contested as the game was, I didn't feel like either team would score. I don't know.
What did we think of Kane coming back? Obviously, it was his first game.
He looks leggy.
He didn't last the whole game, did he? He was taken off soon after.
I mean, he was taken off for Vincent Janssen, and I don't want to write a player's career off.
I'm about to agree with this.
Into a Premier League season. But, I mean, he looks like an Eredivisie striker playing in the Premier League. And I don't mean to slag off the Eredivisie, but he doesn't look like a Suarez, let me tell you that much. He looks more like a Kesman, almost, sort of, kind of,
whatever happened
not really.
to Kesman? I forgot about him. I'm
I can't
going to
remember,
Google him. Be right back.
But yeah, he doesn't look like a Spurs standard player. And Spurs, actually, Keno, don't have a great deal of depth in this squad. They're unbeaten, but you look at the bench. I mean, I'm not sort of slagging off their kids, but Carter Vickers, I think it's Harry Winks is on the bench as well. Anoma's there.
Yeah.
Trippier's not exactly a sort of a veteran of the team, and Kudu is also there. Vorm's on the bench, it's going to be sub-keeper, and then obviously their new striker, Janssen. They've got a few injuries, of course, as well. Obviously, like Alderweireld's out injured.
And Dele Alli, of course, missed the game through a training injury.
But there's not a massive amount of depth in this Spurs side, especially at that team they're in Europe as well, don't forget, and doing poorly in Europe.
I think that is that's been a criticism of this Spurs team almost since Pochettino took over. They don't have a lot of depth. I think their first 11 is excellent, but then once you get beyond sort of maybe the 1 or 2 or 3 players that they have sort of as first choice replacements, it is quite thin. As you say, the Europe thing's quite interesting, and they let a lot of players go quite cheaply this summer. Not cheaply in the sense, maybe not financially, but players like Chadley could have done a job for Spurs in those kind of games where you need to rest someone like Eriksen, who also, I mean, he was quite good for the first hour, and then like Kane looked a bit leggy, and you just think, will these players be able to sustain this unbeaten run over much longer? I'm not sure they can, and then the question is, with January looming, will we see Pochettino spend any money? And he's sort of been a bit against it. I mean, Janssen was the biggest signing he made this summer. I think he correct me. Yeah, he was. Probably,
it's actually Musa Sissoko.
But no one cares about him because.
But people have forgotten about Musa Sissoko.
Forgotten about the £30 million player.
Yeah, arguably the worst signing of the season.
Yeah, I think that will go down as that. So other than that, he didn't make that many changes. So. It's a problem for Spurs, and I think you mentioned that Kane looked leggy, and the fact when Kane's not there, they do miss him because I don't think Son's good enough to run at the top of the line for the whole year. Yeah, I think with Spurs, I think we talk about Spurs as sort of a complete package. There's lots of questions. Will they be in a title sort of race again this year? You can't avoid this. I'm sorry that Liverpool are involved in this debate, but you can't avoid this, that Chelsea and Liverpool don't have European football. Now, Spurs do have it, and the chances are they're also going to be in the Europa League, the way their group is shaping up. If they finish third, no matter what happens, what I'm saying is they'll be in Europe come 2017. If that's the case, towards this back end of the season, you talk about players like Eriksen. Of course, they'll have the January to buy, but it might be a case that Pochettino has to go out and spend maybe 40 million to just sort of keep his side ticking over, keep them all fit. Because I'm looking through the squad list now. They've essentially got 2 first-choice strikers. They've got maybe 3 wingers, Lamela, Son, and then Kudu. Sort of central midfielders, Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen. Central midfield-wise, you've got Wanyama and Dyer that play slightly deeper. Then you've got Sissoko, Dembele, Tom Carroll, and Harry Winks. Yeah. Now, in this, you've got like a 20-year-old who's sort of your fourth choice midfielder. Well, there's talk over. Obviously, you mentioned January. There is rumours going around that Spurs may be in for Isco from Madrid, and that move or potential move has potentially been scuppered by the fact that I think Bayern are now interested. Bayern Munich are interested in him as well, as he's not getting a lot of game time at Madrid. That would be the kind of player who exactly, you mentioned those players. Isco would be perfect for that team. And it would be a bit of a departure from Pochettino's kind of philosophy. But, it's that kind of player that I agree I think they need to look for. Yeah. And whether there's any truth, whether there's any truth in that rumour or not, it's the kind of player that they need.
On the flip side, Jack, Arsenal, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with the point, frankly.
Yeah, I think at home you're playing against your rivals. You've got a chance here to pull right away from them and find yourself 6 points ahead of them. It's such a good opportunity, and I think at this stage of the season, if you could tell Arsenal fans you have a chance to go 6 points clear of Spurs, they're going to be disappointed if they miss out on that. Particularly, I think, given the fact it was a penalty they conceded. I want to say it's an avoidable goal to concede because I feel like most penalties are. But ultimately, they didn't look too threatening themselves, Arsenal, going forward. I didn't feel like really. I know there was the outstanding effort by Theo Walcott, which hit the woodwork.
Yeah.
But and also, I guess there was the woodwork hit at the end again for Spurs, so perhaps they will feel fortunate. It was a game, this match, that just had a lot of different kind of phases to it, kind of the balance of power shifted back and forth. And actually, in a bizarre way, if it wasn't the North London kind of derby, and you just looked at these two teams as two teams playing each other, I think both teams would be relatively happy with the point. I think it's given the fact it is their rivals that you kind of do want that win over them.
Well, in the last 21 games each team have played in the league, they haven't lost. The only loss for the two of them was obviously Liverpool on the opening day for Arsenal. Spurs unbeaten. Arsenal only lost one. As Keane said before, they're on one of their best runs ever. I mean, a draw looks obvious when you put it that way, doesn't it? It looks like, of course, it was going to be a draw.
Yeah.
Arsenal still above Spurs in the table, though. I think they'll still be happy with that, I would imagine. Shall we take a break? We'll be with you again after this message.
What is going on, listeners? Jack here, and we interrupt our usual podcast proceedings to let you guys know about a brand new sponsor here at ForTheFans, Classic Football Shirts. Classic Football Shirts offers a range of classic, rare, retro, vintage football shirts from throughout history and throughout the world of football. Check out their website. You can find it via a link in the description if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on iTunes or elsewhere, you can find it at ForTheFans Show on Twitter, and it's our pinned tweet. Hopefully you guys like the products they have on offer at Classic Football Shirts, and of course they do make ideal Christmas presents in the run-up to the holiday season. So guys, we've just had the break. I was looking at Kesman, because we said Janssen was a bit like him. Fantastic career. Obviously, he went to Atletico, he went to Fenerbahce, he went to PSG, and then he went to the Hong Kong side, South China.
Ah, yes, lovely.
He only played 6 games for them. He scored a winner in an FA Cup final for them, with his final kick of the game. Left and went to Bate in Belarus. Then he went back to them and he played 1 game in a friendly game called the Lunar New Year Cup, where he missed a penalty. And
That's a great name, by the way, for a cup.
What?
The Lunar New Year Cup?
It's a 4-team cup held between 4 teams in Asia from different nations, and it's to mark Hong Kong's Lunar New Year. It
sounds like the Emirates Cup, the way you said it there.
I'm afraid. Okay. But he played 1 game in that. He missed a penalty in the 3rd place playoff, and that was the end of his career. So that's last kick of a ball.
Did he retire and go and play for Always Ready?
Yeah, unfortunately not. Although I did like the team that they won against. He scored the winner in the FA Cup final was called NT Realty Wofo Taipo. I mean, there's a name for you.
Well, it's easy for you to say, I guess.
I just like the fact he ended up in Hong Kong missing a penalty in a 3rd place playoff for a pre-season tournament.
I dare say, based on his trips to China, he's got a lot of money at the moment.
Hong Kong, the team was South China. I mean, but Hong Kong.
Look at that.
Controversial.
Based on what I remember, Jack, you said he played for PSG, Zenit, by the way, in 2009, and then China. I mean, yes, and Chelsea before that, of course. So I dare say Matthias Kesman has got quite a lot of money.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Sure he enjoys.
Can't wait to see Janssen tearing up the Hong Kong Premier League in 5 years.
Tell you what, though, I can't even carry on with Kesman chat. He was lethal for PSV, like literally Suarez level good. He was so good for PSV. I think he got 40 goals one year.
105 in 122 games. Anyway, I mean, he's never had this much love on a podcast ever.
Talking about people who have a lot of money. Talking about people who have a lot of money. Mino Raiola, agent of Paul Pogba and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who actually got more money than Ilkay Gundogan cost Man City in the Paul.
Yeah, did he get 25 million?
More than that, 28.
28 million.
And Gundogan was 26
what
million.
What qualifications do I need to become a football agent?
What would
Not many, Jack.
Because I'm contemplating a career change.
You got GCSE maths?
Oh, that would have been good.
GCSE maths?
I've got GCSE maths and I'm a professional bullshitter.
That's
fine. Get me anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that much was obvious. Right, let's go to Manchester United, though. Lovely link, Callum. Appreciate that. They've beaten Swansea 3-1. I mean, we talked about Manchester United a lot last week. Swansea are dreadful. Sorry, Swansea fans. You know you are.
Dreadful.
You've won 1 game start of the season. Since then, not won again. You got 5 points so far this season, and you've appointed a manager who we did kind of question at the time has come from a Ligue 2 side in France. I dare say he's got the job because he was former America manager. It's not looking good for Swansea, boys. I don't know how they get out of this.
It's like if you're a team who kind of struggled to get by in the Premier League and have been on a bit of a downwards decline for a few years, it's not in your best interest to sell your club captain, who's also your best centre-back. It's a mental concept, that. At the same time, £12 million for a 32-year-old centre-back isn't that bad, but they've not got a leader in that team. There's no fight. There was no desire. It was something that actually, I think it was Danny Murphy was livid about a match there, and Alan Shearer was saying they should be getting yellow cards, so it looks like they care.
Don't you feel like, though, now you've said that, don't you feel like ex-pros always do that when they watch teams? They always go on about, do you know what I really hate? They're just not trying. I'm thinking, I bet there was games where you didn't try,
My favourite thing is, Alan Shearer always goes on about not trying. Danny Murphy always gets in a link about how a player used to play for the same team as him. Like, if you watch Match of the Day, any player he ever talks about is like, played with him at Fulham, played with him at whatever team. It goes on.
And if he's played well, always rated him. Always thought he was
good in training. But Danny, when you were at the club, he was in the under-8s. Always rated him. Knew he was a talent when I played with him.
Saw him at an early age, actually. There was a lot of talk about him at Fulham. I recommended him to the boss.
It's very good.
It's a bit like that.
Bob Bradley is, according to Sky Bet, already the 4th favourite manager to be sacked in the Premier League.
Imagine Leon in no time.
I'm not sure. Do you want a prediction before you say it? I'm not sure he'll make it into 2017.
I like that prediction.
Is he on that much money, or can they just sack him? Because they should just be sacking him now. Because I know it's premature, but even on the side, like what was your game plan going into this game? You were at home against United. United are going through a terrible spell in Europe. They've played midweek. They had 3 days to recover. You're a Swansea team that need to show some fight. You're at home. This is a chance to really prove yourselves. You've had that extra day rest because it's a Sunday game for you, and you're 3-0 down at half-time. And I get that they have better quality than you, but there was no urgency in that Swansea side. There was no leadership there. There was no desire.
Before
we very frustrating.
Before we get onto United, I totally agree with that. I think there are systemic problems with Swansea, and it's odd for me to say that, considering that really they've almost been one of the models of having a well-run club in the Premier League. This is the thing. I
feel like this was the case up until maybe Gary Monk. Like when Gary Monk had that dip in form as manager. Well, they have new owners as well.
They have new owners, and I don't feel that. Obviously, Swansea, up until that point, I agree, had a very clear philosophy. I'm not sure where Bob Bradley fits in to that vision that obviously came from Hugh Jenkins, and I know he's still on as as the chairman, but the ownership of the club has changed hands, and whether they are American, whether there's been a bit of a connection there, or they have a different view, it doesn't seem to all be everyone doesn't seem to be on the same page at Swansea. I think that's reflected in the results at the moment.
I think one of the things that perhaps frustrates me the most is the fact that you kind of look at their recent form, and was Guidolin sacked after the Arsenal defeat?
I can't remember.
I think he was.
Oh, no. That was Brodie's first game.
Okay, so he got sacked after a 2-1 defeat against City, a 3-1 defeat against City, and they actually played against Liverpool. I think they went ahead in that game. They ended up losing 2-1. They showed fight against some of the bigger teams. And even against Chelsea, they got a draw against Chelsea. They lost against Leicester 2-1. And they had a narrow away defeat against Southampton as well. And it felt very harsh at the time. I think this is the kind of game where Swansea a month or two ago under Guidolin actually shows some fight and desire. And I'm worried for them. They go into a run of games now where they've got Everton, Palace, Tottenham. They're going to be 3 tricky games because I feel like all 3 of those teams will go into those games as the favourites. They've then got Sunderland and West Brom.
2 massive games.
I mean, the run-up to Christmas, to be fair for them, their games to end December are Sunderland, West Brom, Middlesbrough, West Ham, Bournemouth. I dare say in those 5 games, they need to be aiming for 10 points minimum.
Make or break.
Exactly, and if he doesn't get any points in there, my prediction will come true.
And Swansea will be with Villa next year.
To be fair, though, there was nothing they could do about Paul Pogba's goal, was there?
Oh, I love that.
Well worth the money. That's all I can say on it. Well worth the money. As was Zlatan scoring 2. And just a couple of weeks after I was taking about the Fantasy League, after he hasn't scored for about 7 games, pops in 2.
Is that 6? Is that 6 for him for the season now?
I believe so, yeah.
Because I do need to now issue the public apology because I said he'd only get 5 this year. So
I'm not the only one who made it.
I feel like me saying that Ibra would get 5 goals is a more bold prediction than Hull getting however many points you said they'd get. I think that was a very harsh.
Do you really think so?
Yeah.
I mean, players have flopped in the Premier League before, whereas a team getting 8 points.
This was after he'd scored like a goal, though.
All right, well, you're so brave. I mean, we could talk about United all day, but we did that last or 2 weeks ago.
They're
About
impressive. They're on the ascent. They're still in 6th, though. They've got a lot of ground to make up. But
dare I say it, Wayne Rooney in this game looked pretty good.
Yeah, but he's got an England game coming up. So
that'll reverse the trend.
Yeah, England game coming up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Interesting if Southgate picks him. Like, genuinely interesting to see what happens with that. We'll talk about that maybe right at the very end of the show. Of course, Manchester United then back to winning ways as they needed it, frankly, after the defeat in midweek. Should we move on? Another game, boys. Manchester City 1, Middlesbrough 1.
Pep found
Great
out.
point for
Pep
Borough.
found out.
Are you convinced? A very strange run of form for Manchester City. Borough get a 91st minute equaliser, and it's basically because City do not take their chances enough, or don't create enough clear-cut chances. I mean, pick one.
Pick them all.
I think the most clear cut was the second chance for Sergio Aguero. It probably wasn't his second chance, but it was the second big one from Aguero, where he sort of. It was very odd the way he shot over. It almost looked like he kind of just took his eye off the ball and kind of almost expected just to stroll and slot it in. And he did the classic sort of lean back and spoon it over the bar. And really, I think if he puts that away, there's no way we see any fight out of Borough at all. As you say, very strange run of form for City, considering that. I mean, we should have saved the Champions League show till after the Barcelona game last week, because it was probably their best performance ever in Europe. I think they were superb, and to follow that up with this, it was very odd. It was other than the goals, it was quite similar to the Everton performance. They also drew 1-1, which they had a lot of the ball. Created the odd chance, not too many clear-cut ones, and then were undone with an equaliser. And I think there's a bit of a worrying pattern there. And I think really this game is probably the most embarrassing for Pep out of all the sort of iffy results that he's had over the last month, because of just the manner in which Middlesbrough did so little for the entire over 90 minutes, and then sort of just popped up at the end.
The stats for the game, it's a good comparison to the Everton game. The stats were pretty much identical to those games.
You can see that from the way it was going.
I think Middlesbrough had one or two more chances and a little bit more possession, but not by a lot. City need to start beating. No disrespect to Middlesbrough, but home game against Middlesbrough, City are thinking how many? And Middlesbrough have defended very well. They've been defensively, like we said last week or 2 weeks ago. They've been defensively very good all season, especially from the sides that have come up and the sides down there. They're doing well. They're not scoring enough.
Only 4 teams have conceded less than them. Yeah,
that's what I mean. They're doing well down there. A great away point, but it's a bonus point, isn't it, for Karanka? You don't expect to go there and get anything, and they walk away from it with a point. I mean, at this stage of the season, you look at how badly Swansea and Sunderland are doing, and you look at Borough on 11 points above the drop, in touching distance of 8th.
There's also a couple of games in there as well, of course.
Yeah, there's sort of a cluster of teams: the Bournemouth, Leicester, Middlesbrough, Palace, West Ham. They win a couple of games, you won't even think about them.
The issue really is, if you look at the points totals, it's just so tight at the bottom. Really, from Burnley in 9th down to Hull in 18th, it's separated by 4 points.
Yeah, and 5 if you include Watford in 8th as well. It really is tight down there. Leicester champions being defeated by West Brom. Danny Drinkwater with the back pass of the season.
No. John Stones' was better.
I don't know. Drinkwater's is more bizarre.
I can't work out, from watching the Drinkwater one, what the plan is at no point, because he doesn't shape to try and pass it to either of his centre halves.
He passes it mid-air. You don't get power on the ball mid-air.
I actually think he for a second, he forgets which team he's on and which way he's meant to go. And he sees Phillips making a fantastic run. Because if you actually watch it, Phillips is already on his bike, anticipating the crap back pass. I think it's just a bit of a mix-up there. I wonder...
Do you reckon he gave him a shout, Jack?
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
On your way. Here you go. You're in.
Because there's no way that he's going to send it back to the keeper from there, because he's just inside the centre circle on the volley. He's not going to roll in.
He's hit it. He's not
I'll tell you what he's done. He thinks N'Golo Kante's going to be between the centre halves.
Just cleaning up.
That wasn't the only bit of bad news. Kasper Schmeichel has fractured his hand.
He had surgery, didn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be out for, I think it's
they have
a
got
month
Zila,
at least,
though, who actually, I'm kind of curious to see how good he does for them, because he's a player who kind of made a little bit of a mark in Germany. Some people question whether or not he might come in and be a bit of a firework up Schmeichel's arse. A player might come in and play a few games.
I mean, Guy Fawkes reference right there.
Thank you. But I mean, he's now going to have a chance, isn't he? He's going to have a few games. I think is Schmeichel out for 6 weeks? Is that correct? Is it?
I think it's between a month and 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Like they're being vague, like clubs tend to be.
We should say after the drink would pass, it was a great finish from Phillips, who still, to be fair, although he
had some work to do.
He had a perfect through ball played to him, but still had a lot to do.
I always get a little bit upset seeing Matt Phillips and Tom Ince because they were meant to be they were the Blackpool darlings. They were the future of Premier League football for the kind of United Kingdom on either wing.
Tom Ince played very well at the weekend, Jack. So,
he did. I'm hoping that one day those two will be reunited with Blackpool in the Premier League. It's not happening. It's a pipe dream. But
I mean, wow, that really is a pipe dream. This is the kind of result where I don't know how West Brom get points, and then I look back and go, "Oh yeah, they beat Leicester."
Pulis.
He's got a year extension on his contract. Now there was this. Where did this come out from? Because he was getting booed by the fans.
Still is.
Yeah,
he still is.
But how's he got a year extension? Because I feel like if I'm the chairman and I hear the manager getting booed, it's like, maybe I shouldn't give him a year extension.
Well, do you know why? Because it's a match made in heaven, Jack. West Brom's owners and board want West Brom to be in the Premier League because they run as a profitable football club. So they want a man that keeps teams in the Premier League. They don't really care what happens. They just want to be in the Premier League. Now, Tony Pulis is that guy. So they've got if Pulis goes, Allardyce will be in.
I was about to say Big Sam's available as an option.
Yeah. So I mean, a good one for West Brom. Just very quickly on Leicester.
More drop points.
I was going to say Kante, Vardy, and Mahrez. Of course, Kante's moved on, but all nominated for FIFA. They've changed the name, haven't they? Best FIFA Men's Player 2016. I mean, Vardy's the first Englishman to have that in years. I think probably since Rooney.
Since Rooney in 2009, I think.
That's a long time.
2011, sorry.
That is a long, long time for an English player not to be on that list.
Not even on the long list, no.
And the reason I say it, it's a bloody massive list. I'd love it if Vardy won it. He's never going to win it, but, I want him to be in the conversation, or at least, Leicester should win Team of the Year. I don't know if they do Team of the Year.
Maybe Vardy's filmmakers could slip Gianni Infantino, a couple million quid.
Oh, don't do this. Allegedly.
And then he could win the Ballon d'Or. Sorry, not the Ballon d'Or. FIFA's Men's Best Player 2016.
Sounds terrible, doesn't it?
Can we call it that? Can we make sure we now call it Best FIFA Men's Player 2016 every time, please?
Maybe the filmmakers could rustle up some Hollywood venture capital and ensure that he wins the Ballon d'Or, and then that would make for the perfect ending.
Good ending. Yeah. Or just have Vardy sort of in a suit at the award ceremony and just watching Neymar lift it. That'd be nice. I think Neymar probably will win it. In the other games in the Premier League, I mean, do you want to touch on Leicester again? I feel like...
Well, I mean...
Concerning.
It's just all a big shame.
It is. And actually, Ranieri did quite a sad interview after
First
the game.
First time he looked angry, sad and angry.
When it was more just like, we had such a good time last year that we always knew it was going to get worse. And we've just got to remember the happy memories. And I was like,
they need a violin. There's a violin here somewhere. We need to get a violin out. Actually, he got. I can't think who it was. Who was the chap that came and did the opera? I forget his name.
Blind Italian very famous. Opera singer. This is going to annoy me now.
Oh, I can't remember his name. Goodness me. What I'd like to think is that for this season, say they get relegated, Ranieri does a speech but has a violin as he does it, and then he just sort of goes back to Greece. That'd be nice.
It was Andrea Bocelli. Of course it was Bocelli.
Andrea Bocelli, of course it is.
The thing is, when he sang that song, I just thought the film Step Brothers.
Right, last year...
Because it is the song from Step Brothers.
Yeah, it's true. Lovely reference. We don't mention Step Brothers enough on this podcast. Jack, I asked you last season, it was November when this started sort of going around. I tweeted it out last year, if Leicester get in the top 4, I'll do a series dressed as a fox suit, currently available on youtube.com/DrBenGFM. The question is this year, Jack, will Leicester get relegated? 2 points off the relegation zone.
I think I said at the start of the year there was more chance they'd get relegated than qualify for a European competition.
Yes or no, Jack? Yes or no?
I think they'll be down there. Especially if they...
Relegated?
No, sorry. I mean...
Listeners, Leicester City will be relegated. Jack Peachman, thank you everyone for listening. That ends this week's show. Sorry, Jack.
The issue here is that Swansea and Sunderland are so crap that
there's only room for one more.
And the issue is, you look at the teams down there, you look at teams like West Ham, you've got to feel like they're going to improve. Middlesbrough have been fine defensively. If they can find just a few more goals and a few more wins, they could quickly creep out.
Yeah.
And I look at Leicester and I'm sat thinking, you're doing bloody well in Europe, your clean sheets and all that.
Wouldn't it be great if they got relegated?
Wouldn't
it be great if they got relegated and then won the Champions League?
I mean, would that be a tragedy or like a comedy film that they make about the club for the sequel?
It would be like... But for the story, for the story of Leicester, do they have to cancel the film at that point? Because it would be it's inconceivable that they can win the Premier League and be relegated. Like, okay, we're being quite hyperbole here, but they have only won one of the last 6.
Of the film. Second year, they'll get relegated. Third film, it'll be a playoff final win against Villa.
To be clear, I want Summer Jack's. It's something that Jack's smoking because they're not going to get relegated. They're fine.
I didn't say they get relegated. I just think that they'll be near. I think they'll be nearer 18th than they will be 8th.
Okay, that's just a ridiculous.
So 13th,
13th or lower.
All right, fair enough. 13th or lower. Okay, okay. Around the grounds, then Burnley win in the last minute versus Crystal Palace. Palace,
scarily good.
Strange team. Scarily good though. Sunderland won a game. I mean, they can't believe it. They've won a game. We've barely talked about it on this week's show. If you win another one, Sunderland, we'll dedicate an entire section to you if you want. There's a deal. Deal, boys. Yeah. They win another one. We'll give them.
Can we have a Sunderland themed feature if they get another win?
I mean, no, you can't. Maybe David Moyes feature. Defoe getting the goal. Obviously, there are a few other games around.
Charlie Austin scored again. All got a win though.
Well, lovely link. We'll go to that actually. Yeah, Hull got the win. Charlie Austin scored and has not been called up to the England squad. Jack,
I have just seen on my Twitter feed. You know, it says so and so liked a certain tweet.
Yeah.
I just clicked on Twitter and Jack worked the space, liked this, and it's a tweet from Spore, formerly BBC Sport.
Oh, okay. I thought Charlie Austin tweeted.
Well, no, because Jack liked it because obviously he's supporting of this. Charlie Austin, games 11, goals 8. In the England squad, no. Jamie Vardy, games 13, goals 0. In the England squad, yes. Draw your own conclusions.
I will. Me and Jack can debate this in just a moment. So yeah, Charlie Austin not in the England squad. Shall we quickly go through?
I don't think there's that many shots with the England squad this time around.
Well, there's a few new inclusions. There's a return as well. Do you know who the return is, Jack? I mean, little quiz. Jack was just back in the England side. The front four. I mean, I guess we'll talk about the front four. If you want to know the England squad, research it. Kane, Sturridge, Vardy. And
Rashford. And Walcott's there as well.
And Walcott's in as well.
Rooney's there.
Charlie Austin hasn't got in. And I agree with Gareth Southgate and the people that made the decision. I don't think Charlie Austin should be in the England squad yet.
So there's a chance. The Charlie Austin appeal is back for another season.
Because, and the reason I say that is because as a manager of the England team, the job that we think they should do, and I think Gareth Southgate agrees with because of how we treated the under-21s, is you need to build essentially a squad that turns up every so often and is consistent and plays with an idea. And I don't think Charlie Austin fits into that. And while he's having a fantastic start to the season, if he keeps it up all year in a similar vein to Jamie Vardy, who arguably then earned his place in this sort of squad that is being created with his form last season, then that's kind of fair enough. But I don't think Charlie Austin is there yet. That's why I throw in the yet. If he carries on and scores 15-20 this season, then he has to be in contention for future squads. But it's too early to just say he scored a load of goals, get him in. Like, I don't personally feel like the England team should solely be picked on form. And that's why I don't think a player like Jermaine Defoe should be called up again, because he's not part of this squad mentality that is trying to be forged by the national team. If you play well enough throughout an entire season, that suggests that you're consistent enough to then do it at international level. Whereas Charlie Austin having sort of a good spell in the Premier League, to me, doesn't justify his inclusion in the England squad.
I tend to agree. I think there's a balance, obviously, to be struck. I think in the case of Austin, I think if he's still doing this by, January, February, and he's got the same, if he consistently keeps scoring goals, then it will definitely be worth looking at him.
Defoe scored 15 last year, Ben, and he didn't get in the England squad for the Euros.
But I think.
But Jermaine Defoe at 35 or 34 years of age, Jack, is a different kettle of fish. For the next tournament, Jermaine Defoe will be 36. I think he's 34 now. He'll be 36 for the next tournament. You don't call Jermaine Defoe into this England side. He's had his chance. He did all right. He didn't pull up any trees, but he's not the future of the England side. And you've got to look pragmatically with the England team. You've got to think, okay, we've got a system here. We've got an idea, and that's why Rashford gets called up essentially ahead of Charlie Austin when he arguably shouldn't do if it were purely based on form. Sorry, Keno. Continue.
No, I think you've pretty much expressed.
I just feel like we need to develop Jermaine Defoe for the Masters Football International tournaments coming up.
It'll be great for that. Well, to be fair,
is Masters Football still a thing? I need to check this now.
I don't know,
if you don't know what it is, it was usually on Sky Sports on a Sunday. It was
great.
It was basically a five-a-side tournament where former players of like fairly big former giant English clubs would come and play like a six-a-side kickabout for a day, like in a sports hall, and there'd just be a crowd there.
Jermaine Defoe, though, Jack, can't be in the England team because he was in Soccer Aid.
Is that like the
Soccer Aid... Well, yeah, because he didn't go to the Euros, but he did play in Soccer Aid, which, I mean, I respect the fact as a professional, he played in a charity game, but if you've decided to do that, at that point, your England career for me is over. Peter Crouch, get in Soccer Aid.
Apparently, Masters Football ended in 2011 with Rangers winning the entire thing, but Darren Huckabee won the Golden Boot Award, so there's silver lining. I bet he still has that on his fireplace somewhere, Darren Huckabee.
Absolutely, I've got no doubt. Darren, if you still follow me on Twitter, which you do, get in touch. We'll maybe have an interview with you next week about
Masters Football Golden Boot Award.
Yeah, exactly.
Winner.
We did have a Twitter question this week as well, boys. Shall we look at some answers for now?
One more thing about the England squad that I've just noticed.
Oh, go on.
Michael Keane of Burnley's in there. One of the new
it's a recall for Michael Keane.
Oh, yeah.
He made the last squad, but nice to see him keep his place, I guess. We'll probably talk about England next week. We'll make sure we do a show next week because we slacked last week. So yes, we did ask a question on the Twitter, boys. Have we got it up? Please say you've got it up. I mean, that sounds stranger when it comes out of my mouth in that fashion.
Get it up right now, Ben.
Oh, maybe we can get it up. Like, you can hear them both there. The question was this week, with the United States set to name a new president, who from football would you like to be the next FIFA president? I did preface this, folks, by saying that if you can give us a reason why too, that'd be ideal. We'll read the best ones out. I don't want funny answers like Donald Trump. He will never be president of anything, ever. If you're listening to this after Tuesday and he is president, we'll just look out for the corrections next week at the start of the show.
The mother of all corrections and clarifications.
I'll be doing that again. We've had a few. I mean, we'll start with Paul Barry 4 on Twitter. Brendan Rodgers would restore great character to the position, which I think we could all agree with. I actually think Brendan Rodgers would do a fantastic job as FIFA president.
Very diplomatic. He could work the contacts.
The issue is, okay, like someone would go like watching a Sepp Blatter going down then, and he's going to be in jail for 10 years, and Brendan would just be like, "This great character."
Yeah, great lad.
Couple of ones that I really like. One from Insofar As, who says Andre Villas-Boas because Zurich isn't too far from Lyon, which is good. Another one from Football Emperor says Sam Allardyce incorruptible, which is also
incorruptible. I like that. That's good.
Also very good.
I'll tell you what, actually, there's quite a few good ones. Will Herbert just put Sir Alex. He wouldn't take no shit from anyone. I like the way it was written. I just enjoyed the matter of fact about it. Just FM saves Harry. Virgil van Dijk brilliantly cleaned up people's messes whilst going under the radar and remaining uncontroversial. You can't be FIFA president if you're actually like capable for the job. So while I appreciate the answer, you wouldn't fit in. Put it that way. Lewis Saunders went with a very serious answer of David Gill. Successful at Manchester United, does well in the current role for the FA. You've not understood the way you want these. You
don't understand the feature or the questions. This isn't a feature. Well, is it a feature?
I don't understand the feature.
I mean, we know that.
Sam Bates on Twitter, Mick McCarthy, just so we can make another Careless Whisper video of him. Which, yeah, I'm all for it. A few people said Big Sam, by the way. Good grief. Joey Barton was named as well.
Is he allowed
Harry
to battle
Williams.
football matches if he takes the role?
I've got no idea. We've got there's two good ones actually. First of all, Darryl Swinderson, Jack Bauer from 24, as he would just have 24 hours to clean up the corruption using any means necessary. That, my friend, that would be. I'd watch that series. Is it any means necessary?
Isn't it Thailand? Where I might be wrong here. Isn't there somewhere where at the moment there's a big like cull going on with drug dealers, and the president's basically said just shoot anyone who you think's a drug dealer or takes drugs.
Well, okay, well that's
what I've got to imagine, right? There are a few sort of front runners for this. Obviously, there's been a few Big Sams. There was also a few. Who else have we got? We
had a lot of answers this week. Can I say? Thank you so much for getting involved in the question.
A few Big Sams, a few David Gills. There's more than one David Gill, which is odd.
Yeah.
There's also, I think,
Cantona.
Yeah, but also there's about 3 or 4 Tim Sherwoods, which I can
that's your
personally
fault.
It is my fault. I can personally get behind that. Not many good reasons for him though. I'm not sure you need one.
Did you ever see Matt Daly's Glenn Hoddle?
Yeah.
So I don't have to hear the daft prick commentating on England games anymore.
Tim Sherwood.
That's just a removal strategy.
Tim Sherwood does have the best win ratio of any Spurs manager in the Premier League, which does qualify you for FIFA president.
It's true. We'll finish with I teased it before. Harry Williams. Harry Redknapp already has significant experience at tax evasion. He'd be able to get a Swiss bank account for his dogs. You know, I mean,
That is
it fits all round. Allegedly, I think we'll throw in that word at the end there too. Right then, that does bring us to the end of the show.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, because I went and found out if Nepal or India is closer to Trinidad and Tobago, and the difference...
Jack.
Yes?
I hate to tell you this, but I've got differing results to you.
The drama.
No.
I also did research, and it's 152 kilometres closer is India.
Is that the coast or the capital? Because where we should clarify, my sources suggest that it's 19 miles closer is Nepal, based on capital city to capital city.
Well, we're not doing... Why have you... I mean, you've gone with capital cities.
Oh, yeah. I've just looked at Jack's map. India's definitely closer. It's definitely...
It's not, because for some reason the arrow's going to Venezuela and not Trinidad and Tobago, which is further north.
Okay, I've posted my evidence in the chat as well.
Even though I'm going to stand to win from this, I still agree with Ben. It's definitely...
Yeah. It's...
I think the people should decide what's close to Nepal or India.
No. Sorry, listeners. I hate to take this away from you, but I think the facts should decide which is closer, and the facts are that India is closer to Trinidad and Tobago
your sources,
than Nepal.
did you get yours from Wikipedia again?
Oh, Jack, this is sounding.
I think you'll find it was Google, Jack. You're a very reputable company, and I apologise on behalf of Wikipedia for the slander by the space, and I will be using in the future for features on a weekly basis. Can we please stop this?
Yes.
Because, you know...
We're sounding like the US election.
Okay, let's wrap things up there then. Thank you for listening to the show again. Thank you so much for voting for us in the FBAs. If you've listened on YouTube, do leave a like on the video. It does help out. And thank you to those that are subscribed over there. iTunes as well. For the Fans Show, search us up, subscribe. Thanks for listening on there as well. We've been the SoundCloud off. Kino, it's official.
It's dead.
Only like 70, 80 people listen to it. So,
and if you're making the effort to look it on there, you can make the effort to watch it on YouTube or download it on iTunes or something. I will say there is a podcast app for Android which is very good. I think it's called, what's it called? There's an Android app for. I mean, this is Ben really should have researched this. Podcast app Android. I'm not going to Wikipedia for anybody asks. It's really good as well.
Is it managing in the
description?
Regardless, it's very good. I mean, me not actually naming it is part of the issue. I haven't got my phone.
Next week, people will find out. That's a reason for them to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, there are other ways other than SoundCloud to listen, is what I'm getting at. Jack, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure as always. Looking forward to some England chat next week.
Yeah, indeed. Get well soon. And Kino, pleasure as always.
That was a really polite sort of outro from Jack there. I'm not
sure.
Yeah,
I know. I felt unnerved by it. Okay, right, then that brings us to the end from us at For The Fans Show. We love with care. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye. Jack, apologise to Callum.
I'm sorry,
really
I didn't mean it. I'll buy you a classic football shirt from classicfootballshirts.co.uk.
It's a sculpture of a gold Benji. It's perfection.
Kino, I think you're going to have to be calling for an oxygen mask over here, my friend.